Let's get right to it. For years, Israel and Iran have been locked in a shadow war. Proxy fights, covert ops, and endless threats. But on June 13, 2025, it all went public. Israel launched a massive air assault on Tehran, lighting up the city and shattering any illusion of distance. Suddenly, this wasn't a far-off conflict, it was the world's main event and everyone was watching. Iran hit back hard. Hundreds of missiles and drones rained down on Israel, turning Tel Aviv's skies into a war zone. This was no border skirmish, it was a direct clash between two military powerhouses. The escalation was immediate, the stakes global. For millions, the war was no longer a headline, it was the sound of explosions outside their window. The world held its breath, waiting for what would come next. Every news alert felt like a countdown to something bigger. The rules had changed and nobody knew where this would end, and honestly, no one has the answer. Let's talk tech, because this is modern warfare, not history class. Iran unleashed hypersonic missiles, flying at Mach 10. So fast, most defenses are useless. It was a message: your Iron Dome can't stop us. Israel answered by striking Iran's nuclear heart, Natanz, crippling thousands of centrifuges and setting back Iran's nuclear program by years. They didn't stop there. A top Iranian general was killed in Tehran, and state TV was hit live on air. The message: nowhere is safe. This wasn't just about bombs, it was psychological warfare, designed to rattle the enemy's core. Each side hit back harder, locked in a deadly cycle of escalation. For every strike, there was a bigger response. The world watched as the violence spiraled, each move riskier than the last. Military analysts called it a feedback loop, one that's almost impossible to break. Both sides were determined not to blink first. The stakes: national pride, survival, and the balance of power in the Middle East, and the spiral kept tightening. The world had to pick sides fast. In a matter of hours, alliances were tested and old rivalries reignited. The stakes had never felt higher, and every nation was forced to reconsider its place on the global stage. President Trump, back in the White House, went full cowboy, demanding Iran's surrender, refusing talks, and flexing U.S. military might. His approach was brash and uncompromising, sending a clear message that the U.S. would not back down. The world watched as American power was put on full display, with Trump doubling down on threats and ultimatums. At the G7 in Canada, Trump stormed out, while Trudeau pleaded for calm and dialogue. The summit, meant to foster unity, instead became a stage for confrontation. Trudeau, caught between allies and a volatile neighbor, tried desperately to keep the peace. The contrast was stark: American threats versus Canadian diplomacy. While Trump raised the stakes, Trudeau and other leaders clung to the hope that words could still matter. G7 leaders scrambled to issue a watered-down call for peace just to keep Trump on board. Behind closed doors, frustration simmered as leaders struggled to find common ground. Meanwhile, U.S. warships and bombers moved closer to the region, signaling that America was ready to back Israel at any cost. The world's most powerful military machine was now on high alert, and the threat of escalation loomed large. But even in Washington, there was pushback. Lawmakers from both parties tried to rein in the president's war powers. Embassies shut down, airports emptied, and the sense of crisis deepened as uncertainty gripped the capital. Foreign nationals rushed to escape, desperate to get out before borders closed or violence erupted. The exodus was chaotic, with families and diplomats alike scrambling for safety. The world braced for the worst as diplomacy gave way to evacuation. Convoys of armored vehicles and emergency sirens became the new soundtrack of international relations. When diplomats run, you know things are dire. The sight of empty embassies and abandoned offices sent a chill through capitals worldwide. The international community was on edge, watching the region unravel. Newsrooms buzzed with speculation, and leaders held emergency meetings late into the night. The message was clear: the era of careful negotiation was over. The world's faith in diplomacy was shaken, replaced by a sense of foreboding. Now, it was about survival. Ordinary people prepared for the worst, stocking up on supplies and seeking shelter as uncertainty spread. And the world was holding its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Forget the leaders, let's talk about the people living this nightmare. Ordinary families, students, shopkeepers, and children suddenly thrust into chaos, their lives upended in a matter of hours. Tehran plunged into darkness, blackouts everywhere as explosions lit up the night. The city's familiar skyline was replaced by fear and uncertainty, every flash a reminder of how quickly life can change. Gas stations jammed, the Grand Bazaar shuttered, and millions tried to flee or hide. Streets once bustling with life now echoed with panic and confusion as families scrambled to find safety. The Iranian government cut the internet, isolating people from the world and each other. Friends and relatives were left in the dark, unable to check on loved ones or share vital information. Social media became a lifeline. People posted desperate messages, final goodbyes, and pleas for help. In the darkness, the glow of a phone screen was sometimes the only connection to hope. In Tel Aviv, families rushed to bomb shelters, their lives upended by constant sirens. Parents clutched their children, trying to shield them from the terror outside as the city braced for the unknown. The human cost was everywhere. Families torn apart, homes destroyed, lives lost. Emergency responders worked through the night searching for survivors and comforting the grieving. Even as the world focused on Israel and Iran, tragedy continued in Gaza. Dozens killed waiting for aid, their stories nearly lost in the chaos. The struggle for survival was relentless, and hope was in short supply. These aren't just numbers, they're people caught in a conflict they never chose. Each face tells a story of loss, resilience, and the desperate wish for peace. Daily life became a struggle for survival, with fear and uncertainty as constant companions. Every trip outside was a risk, every night a test of endurance. Yet, somehow, people kept going, finding moments of hope in the darkness. Small acts of kindness, a shared meal, or a child's laughter became lifelines. The grind of war was relentless, but so was the will to endure. Even in exhaustion, people clung to routine, determined to survive another day. The world watched, but for those on the ground, there was no escape. News headlines could never capture the full weight of their reality. This was their reality now, and it was brutal. But even in the harshest moments, the human spirit refused to break. Back at the G7, the summit turned into a crisis meeting. Climate change and economics were forgotten. Now it was all about the war. Trump issued direct threats to Iran's supreme leader, mixing bravado with vague offers of talks. The other leaders scrambled to keep up, pushing for a joint statement that said little and meant less. The final document was diplomatic mush, calls for calm but no real action. On the ground, bombs kept falling and the summit's words rang hollow. The Western alliance looked fractured, no clear leader, no united front. America's go-it-alone approach left allies uneasy and adversaries emboldened. The G7 became a symbol of division, not strength. For Iran, Russia, and China, that disarray was an opportunity. The world's so-called leaders were out of sync, and the consequences were dangerous. The summit ended, but the crisis only deepened. The message global unity was a myth, and the world's divisions were now a weapon. The stakes had never been higher. Think this war is far away? Think again. The ripple effects are closer than you think, reaching into your daily life in ways you might not expect. The second the missiles flew, oil prices spiked. Get ready to pay more at the pump. Filling up your tank suddenly became a luxury, and commuters everywhere felt the sting. Global markets tanked, retirement accounts shrank, and economic anxiety spread everywhere. Investors scrambled, and ordinary people watched their savings evaporate almost overnight. Even crypto took a hit. No one was safe from the shockwaves. Digital assets, once seen as a safe haven, plummeted alongside traditional stocks. Supply chains, already fragile, got slammed again. Expect delays and higher prices on everything from phones to groceries. Everyday essentials became harder to find, and shelves emptied fast. Even your DoorDash order could get pricier thanks to rising fuel costs. Delivery fees soared, and some services even paused operations in certain areas. The economic chaos became its own weapon, pressuring governments and scaring citizens. Protests erupted, and small businesses struggled to stay afloat. When people worry about jobs and savings, patience for war runs thin. Families cut back, and uncertainty became the new normal. This financial pain was part of the battlefield, destabilizing societies from within. Economic stress tested relationships and communities everywhere. Every gas price hike was a reminder. This war touches everyone, no matter where you live. The world's economy is a delicate web, and this conflict shook every strand. No country was truly isolated from the fallout. The cost of war wasn't just measured in lives, it was in every dollar spent, every job lost, and every opportunity missed. The message, no one is immune. Every community, every family felt the impact in some way. The war's reach was global. Travel halted, trade slowed, and uncertainty became the new reality. And your wallet felt it, reminding us all that in a connected world, distant wars are never truly far away. As if war wasn't enough, the planet itself is in crisis. May 2025 was the second hottest month ever. Wildfires in Canada, heat waves in India, and now a war burning even more fuel. Every tank and jet adds to the climate disaster, making things worse for everyone. The G7 was supposed to focus on climate, but war stole the spotlight. Instead of global cooperation, we got more division and destruction. The cycle is vicious. Climate change fuels conflict, and conflict accelerates climate change. We're fighting over a planet that's becoming unlivable, and we're making it worse together. The big question: are we on the brink of World War III? This isn't just Israel and Iran anymore. The US is deeply involved, and Russia and China are watching closely. For them, a distracted America is a strategic win. Every move in the Middle East shifts the global chessboard. Less focus on Ukraine, more risk in Taiwan. One misstep could drag the world's superpowers into direct conflict. The nightmare: a regional war becomes a global catastrophe. The old world order is gone. We're in a new, unpredictable era. This could be the first major war of that era, or a warning shot. The stakes are nothing less than global stability, and the outcome is far from certain. Amid the chaos, there's a spark of hope, driven by the young. Gen Z in Iran and Israel are using social media to connect, not fight. Peace rallies in Tel Aviv, secret protests in Tehran. Young people are risking everything to say, "Not in our name." On TikTok and Instagram, they're building bridges, not walls. Hashtags like #NotInMyName unite voices across borders. They see each other as people, not enemies, sharing music, memes, and dreams of peace. Their empathy is a quiet rebellion against the war machine. The headlines miss this story, but it's real and powerful. The future isn't written yet. It's being shaped by leaders and by ordinary people in every post and protest. We're not just spectators. We all have a choice: the side of destruction or the side of hope. The next chapter's up to us.